Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and it looks like some interesting news has dropped. This was on the 18th of May, so just a few days ago, and there's a reason to be scared, don't get me wrong, but also a reason to be hyped. So this is a press release regarding the creation of a MMO set in the Warhammer franchise. A lot of people have been asking for this, but let's read over the press release. NetEase Games, yes, that's the reason to be scared, announced today the unveiling of Jackalope Games, the rebranded studio formerly operating as Jackalope Games. I have never heard of this studio before, both with the new name or the prior, but let's continue. Led by industry veteran Jack Emmert, the rebranded Jackalope Games will have the full team that worked under the Jackalope name continue its focus on the development of top-tier PC and console games as a NetEase Games global studio. Top tier? I mean, first up, I've never heard of this studio before. I don't know if they've released anything. Jack is a big name in the industry. We'll talk about him a little bit later, but it's kind of weird to say, oh yeah, top tier when nothing's been released. I guess that's just a little way of promoting themselves, but let's continue. So we do have a statement from Jack here. As someone who has molded my career developing expansive MMOs, I'm proud to unveil that our first game in development, first game, at Jackalope Games will focus on the rich universes of Warhammer. Bringing the deep lore of this IP to our game is a massive undertaking, and we're thrilled to work alongside Games Workshop to bring this vision to life. Throughout this game's development cycle, Jackalope Games will work closely with Games Workshop to engage their respective communities to gain insights and feedbacks on the game. I mean, that works. We know that Games Workshop is incredibly anal and they're going to be involved with everything, and that's a good thing, because back in the day, we had way too many games being released as, well, let's be honest, literal garbage. So the more Games Workshop is involved, the better. Let's just hope that things are actually good now. Jack Emmert brings decades of MMORPG related experience to Jackalope Games and its new project, having previously led development on multiple high-profile game franchises, including City of Heroes, Neverwinter, that's a good one, Star Trek Online, not too sure about that one, and DC Universe Online, I'm not too sure, but I did play Neverwinter a lot. Jackalope Games is a NetEase Games debut game studio in the United States. It will operate independently, and maintain creative autonomy in its game development. I very much doubt that. It's something that needs to be seen, but usually a parent company will still have a say, and the say is usually quite large. The last bit here is about the actual studio. So Jackalope Games is an independent AAA development studio committed to creating immersive online multiplayer gameplay experiences for PC and console. They're located in Texas, and so multiplayer, this is an MMO. The big thing for me is hopefully it's not as bad as what we know of from NetEase. I don't want loot boxes and stuff like that. I'm a big MMO player. I absolutely adore World of Warcraft. It's a MMO that I play a lot. Then obviously I used to play a lot of Age of Reckoning, which was the original Warhammer Fantasy MMO, which is still alive to this day through a private server known as Return of Reckoning. It's a massive thing. I honestly don't know what they could do here. Maybe the MMO is going to be based on Warhammer the Old World, it could be based in Age of Sigmar, or it could be a 40k MMO. I know a lot of people have been wanting that. There's a lot to discuss, really. So let's talk about the possible settings. If it's an MMO set in the Warhammer Fantasy world, if Warhammer the Old World, I mean, it would tie nicely to the setting that is coming. It's obviously, it's a fantasy setting, but it's very grimdark. It's something that we've seen before, obviously, with Age of Reckoning. And I imagine that it's very familiar to a lot of people, right? Personally, I would like this the most, but obviously I will be a bit biased because there's a lot they could do, and they could do a large-scale thing in the style of, Neverwinter, stick a few classes in, do a few different sides, order, neutral, destruction, all that type of stuff, have a few factions playable, and it would be all good. Factions should be a thing, let's hope. There's a lot of MMOs nowadays which are becoming less and less faction-oriented, but it's a big thing for Warhammer Fantasy. Even though factions aren't generally a thing, you'll never really see an orc allying up with a human, for example. Unless it's end times and, well, nobody wants to talk about the end times. A Age of Sigmar MMO is not totally out of the question, considering the fact that realm portals exist, so you could travel from, different plane of existence to different plane of existence without too much of a problem. I think that this could be doable. It would be very high fantasy, which, I don't know, I'm not really too keen on. I think Age of Sigmar would do very well as an RTS game, and obviously we know that there's an RTS in production, but I feel like the world hasn't been fleshed out enough yet, the realms haven't been fleshed out enough yet to be able to warrant an MMO, unless they have a lot of world builders here, and they're obviously working very heavily with Games Workshop to flesh one of the realms. That way, it will feel familiar, you'll be able to travel through those areas. Because the thing about Age of Sigmar, and this is not shitting on the franchise or anything, it's so massive because the realms themselves are ever expansive. We've barely really seen that much of it in the 8 years that Age of Sigmar more or less has existed, that you're going from one area to another area, and it's like, well, how much is that distance? Where is this? Where exactly is the area? Now, Warcry, the skirmish-based minigame for Age of Sigmar, is doing very well, actually, to expand the universe. We're getting boxes set in different locations, and I think it's doing really, really well to just give the area some depth, but I still feel like it might be a few years off until we get an MMO. Mind you, this development is going to take a while. It's not going to be anytime soon. They've likely just started working on this, as this studio is only about a year old. It's still going to be a while, but that's a good thing. If it's going to be Age of Sigmar, it's going to take a while, and it's going to allow for everything to feel more familiar to everyone. Or, and I know a lot of people would want this, maybe this is a Warhammer 40,000 MMO, as... well, we were kind of promised that, essentially, with Eternal Crusade, and that ended up being absolute freaking lies. It would be kind of cool. Obviously, they've got experience with, Star Trek and so on. It's kind of weird, because obviously there's a lot of different games that this dude has worked on. All of them kind of different, barring DC Universe and the City of Heroes. But it would be kind of fun to be able to play as a Space Marine or a Guardsman. A Guardsman would be really, really, really cool. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, all this is wild speculation right now. But, he works on MMOs. They made an actual big thing about stating, decades of MMORPG related experience. It sounds like it's going to be an MMO, and I'm feeling rather confident. This is going to take a while. I doubt it's going to be the WoW killer before anyone starts saying it, because many, many, many MMOs have tried, and they've not been able to do so. It's kind of weird. My only absolute hope is that the developers don't go with, oh, this is going to be a WoW killer, because we've seen that in the past. What I want to see is passionate developers working on a product and making a good game, because how many MMOs right now on the market are absolute trash? So yeah, let's just wait and see, and hopefully this is good. I'll fill you in with more details should I hear anything else. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.